Hey NBA2K fans, in this video we're going to launch a second series on the channel. It's going to be a My Career in a MyLeague file, but with a twist, which I'll explain here in just a moment. And so essentially what we're going to do, we're going to take a prospect who gets drafted and we're going to play on player lock throughout his whole career and find out what kind of player we can develop playing with him on the court. Maybe he'll become a future Hall of Famer. Maybe he'll win some championships. Maybe he'll get a career-ending injury in his first game. I have no idea, and so that's why we're going to play the series. So I hope you join me for every episode as we move along. And if you're new to the channel, I am Coach 2K. And while you're here, subscribe and click that bell to get notified whenever I upload anything new, so you don't miss a single episode of this series or my companion series on the fictional MyLeague. And I'll put a link to the start of that series up in the corner so you can check that series out as well. Alright, so let's get started and explain what's going on here. Right now you are watching the 2019 NBA draft. However, it's a special draft in that we're using a special draft class created by a guy named JB over in the Operation Sports forums. The JB fictional draft class's draft class number 1 is the class that we're using. Now, I set this file up a special way. I'll put a link up in the corner. It kind of talks more about how that was set up. But essentially, what we did is we started with some day 1 rosters created by another user over on Operation Sports, Celtic LG34 attention to detail roster. And I wanted to kind of see how this roster might play, and I hadn't used it yet. And because it's a day 1 roster, I thought it'd be the best roster to sim a season with, the first season, and just kind of check it out. So in addition to that, we put in Barn Core's progression sliders. So he's put a lot of time in those. I'm using them in the fictional MyLeague. We're getting some injuries over there, and I'm anxious to see how it plays out in this file too. And I'm also using Mike Marsh gameplay sliders. So the gameplay should be pretty similar to what we see in the fictional MyLeague instead. Now, the twist here, what we're going to do is the Indiana Pacers are the only team I'm controlling right now. Everything is on auto. The computer controls everything, including who the team is going to draft. And whoever the team drafts, well, that's the player that I'm going to be, and I'm going to put it on player lock. And then that person, I'll control him for every game of his career, and we'll just see how good of a player we can make him into. Now, it's possible that even though I'm controlling the Indiana Pacers right now, he may get traded at some point in his career. If he ever gets traded, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch teams and continue to play as him. So I think the first couple years we're probably safe. He's probably going to be with the Indiana Pacers because of the way the rookie contracts are set up. So I know we may get a little while on the Pacers. Hopefully we can stay with the Pacers, but if not, the most important thing in this series is to play as him, play every game as him, and just see, what we can accomplish with him as a player. It's also going to be interesting to see how progression works. A lot of questions we can get answered here, like, well, will he get additional badges? Will he, his tendencies change? What about his ratings? And I'm not going to touch any of that. So I'm going to show you the beginning numbers here in a little bit of the player. And that's what he's going to start as. I'm not going to edit him in any way. And most of this will just go down to how he was edited by JB when he put him in the file. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be kind of fun just to see what happens. And I'm optimistic we'll get a good player. Right now, you can see some of the prospects that are being drafted on the screen here and kind of the analysis of what kind of player they are. And we are on the number 15 pick. So the Pacers pick either 18th or 19th. I can't remember. There's a guy from Kentucky, Shakur Young, 6'11". There we are, number 18, so it's coming up. Tyrell Blount, 6'2", from Wichita State. 190 pounds. And we'll probably learn more about some of these prospects as the season goes on, because we'll kind of keep track of the rookies here. You see the Wizards start their draft pick, Milos Nedovic from Serbia, 6'11", 224 pounds. I'd read you the analysis, but the print's so small on my screen I can't read it to you. Portland Trailblazers, Michael Redding, 6'10", Big Ten Ohio State player, 255, power forward. All right, so here's the moment we've been waiting for to see who the Pacers are going to draft. And they are going to draft a guy named Justin Denman, 6'9", power forward from Duke, 229 pounds. And he is a tenacious rebounder. You can see some of his strengths and weaknesses. He was a McDonald's All-American. He's top 10 in college in rebounding at 9.9 a game. He was a one-and-done player at Duke. He played one season at Duke. Duke was eliminated in the Midwest Regional Finals by Wichita State. And in that game, he had 14 points, 9 rebounds. The game prior to that, in the Midwest, against Loyola, they won. He had 21 points and 10 rebounds. In his college career, he averaged 11.8 points, 9.9 rebounds, 1.1 blocks per game. And so these are a look at some of Justin Denman's numbers. He's a young kid, 19 years old, and it'd be interesting to see what kind of playing time he gets early with the Indiana Pacers. And not only that, the Pacers got a lot of off-season moves they're going to make here shortly, which we're going to talk about once we look at Denman's numbers, to see if they can pick anybody up in free agency. Are they going to re-sign Sabonis? What about Bogdanovich? So there's a lot of questions in the Pacers roster coming up for the upcoming year, and I'm kind of anxious to see what they end up doing. Kind of scared at the same time with the CPU. You never know what they're going to do. Denman was projected to be a mid to late first round pick. Some draft choice classes analysis had him projected as high as number 7. And he ended up going to the Pacers later in the first round. And so these are his tendencies here. I'll show you his tendencies and then his badges. And then I think we'll get into the free agency period and see what the Pacers did in the offseason. So I haven't been through too many off seasons, so I'm kind of anxious to see how it works. And that's one of the reasons I want to do one of these MyLeague files too. Now, just as a point to note here, housekeeping item, at the end of this season we'll use JB's fictional draft class number 2 and so on, so we keep a consistent type of players that have been edited coming into the league. It'll be interesting to see how these players mesh with the attention to detail roster and how that roster plays too. You can check Operation Sports for a lot of those information on both those files. I may put some of these videos over in Operation Sports into the thread so they can see what kind of players they ended up creating on video. So here's his badges. You can see he's a hustle rebounder, break starter. So he's got 4 badges. I'm anxious to see if he has any badges, if they get created as he goes on. So you can see there he accepted his rookie contract. Not much choice as a rookie anymore. I remember the day when rookies used to hold out. They eliminated that problem. So it looks like we signed Sabonis and we signed TJ Leaf. They accepted their offers. So it's going to be crowded at power forward, although they have Sabonis at a center. Some are declined. Kawhi Leonard agreed to terms with the Indiana Pacers, but look at that, he's got an Achilles tendon. Oh my gosh, so he is injured, and we signed him to a pretty hefty contract. I was telling somebody the other day that when KD ruptured his Achilles, that it increased the chances we'd sign him in Indiana because no one else would want him. Looks like we also picked up Malcolm Brogdon, and Tyreke Evans is coming back. Tyler Ulis, Lee Johnson, Thomas Welch on a two-way contract. So there's Kawhi Leonard. There's a look at the roster. Brogdon seems to get in every MyLeague series. Him and Samuel Adams. I've noticed on some of these YouTube series. So Kawhi's going to be out there. I'm putting him on player lock. Kawhi's going to be out until the first part of November. I think he had that injury in January of last season. And we'll look here in a second. I think I took a picture of it. There's some summer league action. You can see that there's Denman getting an offensive rebound and putting it back in. It's some pretty good summer league highlights. I didn't take all of them here. Summer league, honestly, is kind of boring. There's no fans cheering or anything, so I can't wait to play him in the regular season. Take a little more hyped up game atmosphere. And so I'll show you some stats here in a second. Those are just some highlights. Here he's coming down. Oh, he's going to come out and set the screen here. The pick and roll. Nice play here as he cuts back door, and they get the ball to him. Finishes it off. Pacers would win that game, and he'd have 21 and 13 or 15. In any case, it was a double-double guy. Picture him being a double-double guy his whole career. And they ended up beating the Clippers in the first Summer League game of the season. Holiday played pretty well too. Holidays, we're going to look at the roster in a second. He's going to be our starting point guard in Indiana this upcoming season in the MyLeague file. And second game, he also got a double-double. There's some highlights from the game against, I think it's Chicago? Or is this the Clippers? I can't remember. Anyway, I just wanted you to see some of the highlights of him out on the floor. And then I think after this game, we play the Thunder. And in that bracket, so you play some Summer League games and then you go into a bracket. You can see there you got another 13 and 11. And this is, I think, against the Thunder. The Thunder ended up beating us to eliminate us from the Summer League playoff bracket. But I thought overall that Justin Denman played really well in the Summer League. Here's his rookie contract. It's $2.75 million this year. You see he's got the 2-year team option if they decide they want to keep him. So I think we got 2 years here in Indiana before anything would happen. Here's a look at the roster at point guard. Kind of a logjam here at point guard. Oh, we got Brogdon, that's right. Ulis, Patrick Beverly. So Holiday, he's down in the depth chart there. So it looks like Brogdon will be our starter at point guard. At shooting guard, Oladipo is back from his injury. Tyreke Evans is going to back him up at shooting guard. Hopefully Victor doesn't get hurt again. Tough year for the Pacers this year, losing him. And so hopefully we'll be able to hang that. Now Kawhi, he's out for 1 to 2 more weeks. He's got McDermott behind him, so McDermott will probably be starting at small forward. A little thin at small forward. We got rid of Bogdanovich, our good shooter. There's a look at Kawhi's contract, $30-some million. Good player, though. Not sure how this is going to work out. So, yeah, there's 1 to 2 weeks left to get healed up. According to the card here that I'm going to show in a second, this injury occurred in January, and he's about 91% healed, but it's something that could be aggravated over time. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't finish his contract, but we'll see. Gutsy move. Here we are. TJ Leaf is ahead of us at power forward. Denman backing him up Then we got Johnson with a two-way contract behind him. Look at that center. You know Sabonis has got to play some power forward, even though in the file it's not his primary position. So I guess, we're going to see how much playing time that Denman can even get. So when we get out there, because we're not going to decide, the coach is going to decide that. So here's his contract. You can see he's got a 2-year team option. And so I'll get with you when we see some game action for Denman. I am Coach 2K. I'll see you on the court in the next video. Thanks for watching.